Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue VA, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, the Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from a full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 644 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Morgan Crowley. And if you want to hear us discuss AO, which is Atlas Orthogonal, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast. Today I have Morgan Crowley on with me. And I'm really excited to talk about the technique that she loves and it's near and dear to her heart that she's going to explain a lot more about. It's called AO, Atlas Orthogonal. And we'll talk about techniques in chiropractic and practice building in chiropractic. And we'll open up with her chiropractic story. Before we get to her chiropractic story, I'm going to let you know our big why. Why do we do what we do over here at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is freedom of speech. We think it's vital to everyone, specifically medical healthcare professionals. We interview chiropractors and we would never censor anyone. We know what it's like personally as a brand to be traffic throttled and censored and marginalized because we promote natural health. And that's kind of crazy. But we would never censor anyone else. And we do believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. They're not the same things, but if you want to know more about those topics, reach out to a chiropractor. I'm sure they'd be happy to walk you through the journey of life about having medical freedom and family health freedom. Philosophically speaking, we protect the sacred trust. If you don't know what that is, check out our show notes. You're going to learn more about chiropractic than you ever did, I guarantee you. And it's BJ Palmer's last words. He was the developer of the profession. Really amazing guy. People should know more about BJ Palmer. We're going to talk about subluxation today, and we believe in subluxation based and centered chiropractic. And I think that is vital to the chiropractic profession. If you know a chiropractic student, please share the show with them. They need to hear what we're talking about today because they're removing philosophy from these chiropractic schools, and it's a shame on them. But please share this with your colleagues and friends and specifically students that need to know what chiropractic is. And then lastly, we go back to old dad chiropractor, #1, D.D. Palmer. And we believe that when someone gets adjusted, it connects their physical to the spiritual. And with that being said, Dr. Morgan, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me on today. Glad to be here.
Yeah, when we first were reconnecting back in April, we were talking I spoke at the MAC. So thank you, Michigan Association for Chiropractic, for bringing me out there to connect with the chiropractic world. I can't thank them enough.
It was great having you. Everyone enjoyed it. And it really brought the true essence of TIC to the Chiropractic Association group. And it's not always that way. So it was really nice to have something that brought us back to our why.
Well, it was really cool. And, I think that every time we get a chance to go out, we should always do our best. And we should do it for the people, not for ourselves. And I think a lot of the things that we have to share with the world through whether it's Chiro Hustle or your chiropractic office is we're so passionate about what we do. We want everybody to know about chiropractic.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very passionate about it.
So let's jump into your story. I think it's one of my favorite parts of our show is because people get to re-engage with you. Maybe they haven't heard from you for 10 years. Maybe it's their first time seeing what Morgan's up to, or they're a patient that's been under your care before and they're like, look, there's my doctor. So let's tell people how you got connected with chiropractic.
Yeah, it was really not planned event. So I'm going to give you the short, long version. When I was 5, my head hit the windshield of a car and I didn't think anything of it. Of course, I was 5. My parents didn't think anything of it, even though they were very holistically minded. And growing up at 13, I had torticollis. My head was stuck like that. That's why I have a little bit of a tilt. That was short-lived, few months of that. Then my arm started going numb on my right side when I ran. And then I had chronic sinusitis for twice a year, like clockwork, every 2 weeks, twice a year, fall and spring. Fast forward, I go to college and I'm a lab assistant at the post-concussion research at University at Buffalo. And one of the other lab assistants who was ahead of me, I asked him what he was doing because it was really like this fast track for med school. And he said, "Oh, I'm going to become a chiropractor." I said, "What is that?" Like, I'm thinking voodoo. What? Like, and this guy was a serious guy. Great student. He taught labs. Wonderful, wonderful person. And he said, "You should go check it out. There's some students who practice, and it's free for us students at University at Buffalo." They were from New York Chiropractic College. And he said, "Go check it out and see if they can help. Maybe it'll help you with something." So I go to the students. That was my very first experience of chiropractic with students. So if you're a student watching this and you don't think that you're making a difference or you need to be in practice, absolutely not. I am here today because of students. They were adjusting me, and it was manual adjustment. And I say that because it's important to my story. They were manually adjusting me, and my numb arm went away and my sinusitis went away. So then I was in the gross anatomy and cadaver lab dissecting cadavers. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. The spine is really the hub of all the nerves, and the nerves control everything. Like Christopher Reeve, if you don't have your neck, you don't have anything. I'm like, it makes more sense that there's mechanical compression on nerves than there is a deficiency of chemicals in my body that I need Sudafed and I need amoxicillin because I was taking that all the time, twice a year, destroyed my gut health. And then that's a whole story. But I thought, wow, I'm probably not deficient in amoxicillin and Sudafed. I probably have a mechanical compression up here, and that's why chiropractic helped me. So I was working at a psychiatric clinic, watching people get prescribed psychotropic drugs, and that was how I lived through college. And it was a great place, and I love it, and I would never talk bad about them. But the medical model of how they were taking care of people were miserable, and they weren't getting better. Repeat customers all day long. I volunteered in my internship for free, so I worked for free for a chiropractor, and I loved working there. Everybody was getting better. Patients were happy. They were improving. They were happy to see me. They were happy to come to their appointments. The atmosphere was different. The chiropractors were selling health and how to get healthy, and the medical community was selling sickness and disease. Okay. So that was for me. I worked both jobs at the same time. Oh, and mind you, I loved that job actually at the psychiatric place because I got free lunch and free dinner because they had a book that the pharmaceutical reps had to sign up for in order to bring lunch and dinner to the office, or breakfast and lunch. And then I got the leftovers at night, which was great. It was wonderful food. But they had to sign up months in advance because their breakfast and lunches were paid for Monday through Friday for the next 2 to 3 months. So if they wanted to get in to sell their product, they had to book out 3 months in advance. And I was the lucky recipient of all of that product, which was wonderful. But it was really a stark difference, right? So the chiropractors didn't have that. If we wanted lunch, we had to go buy our own salad. So I was deeply entrenched in it, and I saw how that was working. So I made a pivot in my life. Instead of going to Upstate or Einstein Med in New York, I said, I'm going to become a chiropractor. I'm going to look into this. And I got invited to a life like leadership weekend or a life event. It was one in Buffalo first. And then I went to Atlanta, and I'm like, this is it. Vitalism. This is what my dad's been preaching to me my whole life. You need to have your mind, your body, your spirit. The whole thing has to be in one perfect. He used to call it my isosceles triangle. He's like, everything has to be in place, Morgs. So he calls me in Morgs, and that's going to be great. And I'm like, okay, you know what? My dad's been preaching this my whole life. My mom runs marathons. She's 68. She runs Boston Marathon every year, but not the last 2 years. But she has ran about 12 Boston marathons. My dad's run marathons. I've run marathons. We keep ourselves healthy because health is wealth. So then I go to chiropractic school. I get hooked up with Christy Osborne, who's my student clinician and friend. She starts doing Atlas Orthogonal on me, first toggle, then Atlas work. And for me, it was game changing. I was one of that 15% of people that had such a bad cervical spine that I had damaged ligaments, and I responded really well to Atlas Orthogonal. And so then that was a no-brainer for me. I became an Atlas Orthogonal chiropractor, and I have been one ever since I graduated.
Well, I love so much diversity, and there's so many amazing layers to that story. And I think it's really cool that you got so much support to become somebody as a chiropractor. And I also think it's really a good takeaway for me is that you knew what it was like to get different types of chiropractic care. And
I did. Yeah.
I gave, just a talk that I did out there in Michigan, but I gave this talk originally like 10 years ago. And I said, every single one of you in this room, they're all chiropractors. If I went to every single one of you, each one of you would adjust me differently. And you would give me a different plan and you'd charge me differently. And I said, that's not wrong, but that's what there's such a distinction and such a focus group of practitioners in this category of chiropractic, where there's only 60,000 chiropractors. So when you think about like the diversity of technique, there's so much going on out there. So it's really cool that you found AO, which they abbreviate it down to, but I don't know a whole lot about it. I was trying to explain to you what I thought I knew about it before we went live. So let's give people like a bird's eye view of what AO is if they might not know about the technique.
Yeah, so we start with BJ Palmer, and he said, at the end of his life, one of the most important things, don't forget about the Atlas. That is one of the most important bones. The most important bone, I think, is actually what he said in the end of his books. And then from him was Grostic, and then from John Grostic was Ralph Gregory and Roy Sweat. And I actually practiced in Ralph Gregory's hometown, Monroe, Michigan. Yeah. And there is also Roy Sweat, and that's who I learned from. Dr. Roy Sweat was down in Atlanta, Georgia. He passed away a few years ago. But he took the upper cervical work. And this is what I loved about that man, because I told you I came from a research background. So to me, research is important. There's no reason not to do it. So Roy Sweat took it and he said, okay, how can we make this better and better and better? And he, in terms of adjusting the Atlas, because the people that we see are sick and they have craniocervical syndrome, weak ligaments like myself, and they need specific gentle care. I tell people all the time that people who end up in my office are that 15%. And so Atlas Orthogonal uses a specialized instrument. It's 6 pounds of force. The instrument was designed by MIT and Georgia Tech physicists who made this instrument so it's non-excursion. It goes right on the side of the ear, left or right. We do the vectors. We come up with a vector analysis based on 3-dimensional imaging, and we see where the head is placed on the spine, and then we set up the actual headpiece on the instrument to deliver this very specific adjustment. And what's really cool is that Dr. Scott Rosa out in New York is using pre and post MRI, upright MRI. It's like a motion, functional imaging. It's a motion MRI. You can actually see the fluid in the brain start to normalize. You can see the fluid in this CSF, which is the spinal fluid. You can see that start to normalize. He's doing research, real research that is not just guessing. This is proven. This is proving the subluxation. And that's what's incredible. This is not guesswork. This is proving that when you adjust that Atlas, you are literally opening up the brain-body connection, and things are changing and things are coming online. And we have medical doctors that are supporting this work. We have Centeno Schultz out in Denver, Colorado. Shout out to them. They're awesome. I've been to their facility. I've seen their procedure. They're pioneering, basically gluing those bones back together by enhancing the ligaments using PRP or stem cell. And so you're giving people back quality of life that didn't have it. And they are proponents. They have a book, which I give to my patients, that says, go see an upper cervical doctor. And you know what? They don't discriminate. They say, go see Atlas Orthogonal, Nuka, Blair, and they have it listed out, all these different upper cervical techniques. They are not discriminating. They believe that people should get their Atlas checked and get aligned. So basically what we're designed to do, and what our profession is, we align it, we open it up, and those guys are gluing it back together. And that is pretty freaking cool. We're treating craniocervical syndrome, and it is awesome and powerful. And the stories that come from that are just amazing. So it's a great technique. There's only 400 of us in the world. And that's my mission, to share Atlas Orthogonal and get more people interested in becoming an Atlas Orthogonal doctor. Because I am seeing patients from Canada. I'm in southeastern Michigan. I'm seeing people from Cleveland, Columbus, Fort Wayne, Indiana, Western Michigan, Grand Rapids. I'm seeing people from all over. And then I refer them back to their local chiropractor to take care of the rest of the spine. I say, listen, I've got your neck, got your C1, got that under control. I'm going to refer you back to your local chiropractor. Think of that like your PCP. And I want you to go back and I want you to get regular care with that person from, let's say, like T1 down or C5 down, depending on what's going on with the person. And they're going to do a great job, and they're going to keep you healthy.
You know, I kind of like look at it as a sports team almost, and you have all the players, but you have like the head coach who's like the one that's supposed to like win the game. But then you have like say baseball, the hitting coach. Like the head coach doesn't do the hitting, but they have a hitting coach that does that. But the coach is still supposed to win. So then they're like, well, what if we got a pitching coach? And they're all on the same team and they all want the same outcome. Yeah, I think that's the playbook that I see happening with chiropractic, and with in sales, I call it group tackling. Like I'm like, we have to have one person tackle here. We have to have one person tackle there. If not, that person's going to get away from us. So we have to set up a Zoom with them and have like a face-to-face. We have to have a lunch where we go in and meet the people and take them out for a lunch. We have to have the text message game on. We have to have the follow-up with an email and a reminder. Like we have to do all these things in order to make the sale. But I think also when we think about that type of extrapolation of care, we also have to have the discipline to say, look, you're going to take care of this part of the person. I'm going to take care of this part of the person. And now we have this harmony type of practice that's actually serving the person rather than serving the ego or serving the, whatever it is for that person's practice. Like we're going to have so much scarcity. We're just going to keep these people, and we're not going to team up with other practitioners within our field to get people better.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable that that's how it's been.
Yeah,
and
but
it's honestly that it's survived this long with that kind of mentality.
Well, it's very much a turf war and a bully stance. Like you do it differently, you suck. Or I need these people to pay the overhead. So I would never refer them out because you're not ever going to send them back to me.
Yeah, I love that comment because that is so true. And I think that's what disillusions a lot of young chiropractors, because they get out there and they always say that chiropractors are not nice to new chiropractors. And when you love the profession and you really want to help people and make a difference and serve, and that's what you're met with, it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. You're like, wow, this guy is like such a good doctor, person, girl. And then you kind of do business with them. You're like, okay, but they're a great doctor. They help a lot of people, but they could be doing more. And I guess that's my point. We could be doing more as a profession. The medics have perfected it. And I really wish we could bring some of that into chiropractic, where we have 10 chiropractors in a small radius and where everyone's a specialty and everyone's helping the people get better.
And then marketing works.
Yes. Getting out there and talking to people.
And then marketing works because everybody has a concentrated effort to make chiropractic great.
Yes.
Marketing
Yes.
works. And it's not somebody coming up to me saying, hey, I used to see this guy. Can I come see you now? It's like, hey, I think that I need chiropractic for the rest of my life, and I don't see this person anymore, but can I see you? And I think that when you understand like lifetime value of care, it keeps people like your mom running marathons for multiple years on end, and when people think about it that way, it's an investment really than any type of expenditure, and the quality of life that you get from it by not having, like you were talking to me about the Jim McMahon story, the 30 for 30 on ESPN.
Oh, yes.
But when you have like the cerebral spinal fluid actually functioning and moving, the body is a self-healing, self-regulating organism. So it's very much philosophy meets physical reality. And
Yes.
I think that when you think about the profession on that level, now we're doing it for the greater good of that person and the advancement of their care. And look, now we're doing studies on it. I think that that's another critical thing you said earlier is they're actually doing the studies to show the upright MRI, showing that like the body's actually adapting. And if people think anything about chiropractic and vitalism and adapting, those things are they're probably some of the most important parts about the lexicon of chiropractic other than the adjustment. And I think when people start to understand this, that we can make a small movement to 1 to 2 bones in the top of the neck, and we can restore this person's life back to them.
Oh, absolutely. If I didn't mention that already, yeah, ESPN 30 for 30 did a story on Atlas Orthogonal, Dr. Scott Rosa, and him adjusting Jim McMahon with the Bears, and how it absolutely changed Jim's life. And this is a public media station talking about how he had depression, he had suicidal ideology, and how he goes and sees this chiropractor in New York, and now he said it's like the toilet flushed. Turn his life back on.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Cool Blue VA, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Script AI, Chiro Moguls, the Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from a full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. Well, I heard it was worse than that. I heard Jim would like take drives and he would go to somewhere and get lost and not know where he was. And that he would like turn up somewhere and not know who he was, but people would recognize him because he was with the 85 Bears. Like people recognized him and like said, "Hey, this Jim McMahon, look at this guy." And he would be completely lost and like clueless to where he was like in space. And I think it's remarkable that he could get specific chiropractic adjustments and flush his cerebral spinal fluid to where his body was pumping again and functioning again, and brought his memory back, brought his personality back. Like that's just one instance. But I think that it's really cool that they're actually showing this on mainstream media and showing that chiropractic is actually helping people with their diversity of how they're overcoming life challenges. Could you imagine like most of these NFL guys, if they all just lined up and got AO?
I know. I'm still waiting for the Detroit Lions to come and get care at our office. I don't know where they've been, but I'm like, did you guys not see that ESPN 30 for 30? Do I need to send that to you? I'm right here.
Here's the deal. You got to set up a lunch and learn.
Yeah, I know. And speaking of which, people need to get out and talk to people more. So shame on me.
Well, let's talk about that. I know that was a part of our conversation I wanted to focus on was practice growth. And I know that you had a really cool journey that you were telling me about and how you got to where you are in Michigan. And a lot of that was because you went out there and met your community, right?
Yes, it was. So I started off in Charleston, South Carolina, and I had no money. I was working 3 jobs, and I was doing anything and everything I could to possibly build a practice as an independent contractor. And so all I could do were free things. And that was great because it really made me get out there and meet people. And I started meeting people. I started getting invited to do lunch and learns at their offices. I started getting invited from those lunch and learns to do health fairs. And the more that I met people, the more comfortable I got with people. I had a whole practice. I counted when the time I left Charleston, which I wasn't there long, but about a year, and then another opportunity presented itself. And that's how I got to Michigan, because I worked so hard. The guy was like, why don't you come and be partners with me? And I didn't know that everyone didn't work that hard. I didn't know that everyone wasn't out there doing lunch and learns and doing personal training and working as a night hotel clerk and working at a tanning bed. Like, forgive me for that one, but like, I had to do what I had to do to survive. And I didn't know everyone wasn't doing that. But it was those skills. I went out there, I talked to people, I met people. They were some of the best patients because they were so committed to that education, and they knew their doctor was invested in teaching them and helping them to regain their health. And that, you can't overstate that. So I learned those skills of communication about how to get people to care about their health again and make lifestyle changes. And this part I didn't tell you, one of my very first patients, he was, I think he told me 450 pounds when he met me. And at the time, I told you I was doing personal training. So I was his personal trainer and I was his chiropractor. And I set a 6-month goal. I said, you're going to run a 5K and I'm going to run it with you. And you're going to get off your high blood pressure, you're going to get off your cholesterol medication, and you're going to get off all these different things. And he did it. In 6 months, we ran a 5K. He lost 200 pounds. He's kept it off. He's still running 5Ks. And you want to know the coolest part? He's fused from his entire mid back, T1 to T12. He's got rods all the way down his spine. This guy was eating aspirin and Advil like it was candy. And his doctor thought he was going to die in 5 years. 6'6", 460 pounds, down to 280, no medications. I went with him to his doctor's appointments and I said, he's been keeping a journal. His blood pressure is in check. She said, he can get off his medications. Weaned him off his medications. This guy is healthy, happy today, and sends me t-shirts because they don't make them when you're 6'6" with a kyphosis and 280 pounds. They don't make them. So he still sends me boxes of t-shirts to this day. Really power of chiropractic. Now I have a practice that I bought into. It's an established practice. I didn't have to start it from scratch, but I'm still out there educating my community. My patients know they can come to me to get education on where to get healthy. And that is what is so important. You're not going to find that on a Facebook ad.
Well, I bet if we were to be strategic, we could get those Detroit Lions under care with you.
You know, they should. I hope so.
And I bet just because they're so good lately, because I don't follow football like I used to, but I think they're good lately, and they might just win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I hear that's a possibility.
I think they're good. I don't know, or the Tigers. I think they need it too.
Tigers, everybody, anybody who's got a spine, get checked. You know, that's one thing we do at our clinic. We get people checked, and we do it at an affordable rate. I'm not the joint, you know, it's not $20, and I don't want people to think it is, but I make it affordable for people to get checked because it's important to get your spine checked. And that's my message to everybody. Get checked.
Well, I think we've gone really deep into some of these topics on the questionnaire I sent over, but I am curious, like, who are some of the heroes? Who are some of the people in your life that have made a profound impact on you and helped you become who you are today?
Yes. So, well, when you put it like that, that's not quite how you worded it, but when you put it like that, now I have to thank my parents and all my, you know, everyone in my family and my husband, Oleg. But from like an intellectual perspective,
yeah,
still my husband. He's one of the smartest people I've ever met. And he's a big believer in chiropractic. And that says a lot to me. But Galileo, that is somebody who was criticized, you know, fought adversity, I think he was like imprisoned in his home or in another home, and he withstood it. And I think if chiropractors can be as strong as that, that's somebody I aspire to withstand controversy and adversity and know that you're right and stick to it.
And that's the admirable thing about this profession is it's been shadow banned, if you will, for a long time, but somehow it still presents itself as a leader and getting people results. And I think that when you think about everything else out there, it's patch care, it's the pop and pray method, not with just the adjustment, but with the methods of getting people healthy. Like everything's a pop and pray. Like you're like, I don't know, we're just going to guess and we're going to throw this at it. And maybe this works in cases like yours. And if it works, then great. But if not, hey, we'll get you on something else in a little bit. And I think that, the last guy I interviewed with, he's like, most people go through 7 doctors before they find a chiropractor. They have they have 7 different referrals before they find chiropractic. And then they're like, wow, you guys actually touched me. You guys actually spent more than 5 minutes with me. You guys actually did an orthopedic exam on me. You guys shot some x-rays. You guys actually put your hands on me and moved something.
Oh yeah. We're the real deal. I mean, despite the flaws that we've talked about with marketing, I think that the future is unlimited for chiropractic, because as flawed as things were in the Mercedes 80s and all those different things that we've all heard about, I'm just spitting the truth here, but all the different ways that they've tried to destroy this profession, we have persevered. And because you can't clamp down on the truth. It works. Despite our mistakes as a profession, it's worked. It's going to continue to work. And we're proving that it's going to continue to work. If we just get smart about it and educate and do 1/10 of what the other guys are doing, this profession is going to explode because it's actually helping people.
Well, I love that you say that. And I think I have to also add into this. We need to bring chiropractic back to the chiropractic colleges. We need to get the philosophy groups going. We need to get student clubs adjusting. We need to make sure that they're actually producing people that can go out there and protect the profession in the next generation and be really proud that they can get the results that we get with the adjustments. And I think that if there's anything with the adversity and the winning spirit of chiropractic, we have to protect the future, and we have to protect the mindset and the ability of the future practitioner as well.
I agree.
So let's close out the show with a miracle story. Let's talk about something that you've seen come through your office and maybe give some hope to people out there that will be watching this.
Sure. I have a lot of miracles. So there's actually a 500 miracles book by the Atlas Orthogonal Institute. Wow. I am featured in that book. I have cases in the 500 miracles book. And we're going to put out a second edition for the Atlas Orthogonal, another 500 miracles. But I'm going to pick one that just happened within the last 2 months. I have a young guy, and by young, I mean he's about 40. And he's been living in Europe. And when he was in Europe, he'd been there for a long time, maybe 15 years. While he was in Europe, he pinched the nerve in his neck. And that ended up being what's called an extruded disc, which is typically surgical. But where he was in Europe, they said, no, we're not doing surgery. Just go home. He goes home for 3 weeks, lays around, and it finally starts to feel a little bit better. But then things start to get worse. So the neck feels better. He starts to go on with his life. But then comes in the brain fog. Then comes in, like we were talking with Jim McMahon, this guy's getting all those symptoms, can barely function, moves back to the States, takes a job in a different city. He's not local to my area. He drives about an hour. Goes to a city, gets a job, can't do his job. Then he moves back into his parents' basement, which if anyone has ever done that at 40, that's not what you want to be doing at 40. So he was living by himself, working, successful in Europe, and now he's back living in his parents' basement, and he's wondering, he told me, he says, I wake up every day and I think, how did I get here? how did I get here? And he goes, but I'll be honest with you, when I met him, he didn't tell me the whole story. He told me the facts about his condition. His mom was actually seeing me at the time, and she said, do you think you can help my son? And I said, I have no idea if I can help your son. Bring him in. I'll check him. I'll take the x-rays. I'll do an orthopedic neurological exam, and I'll find out if I can help him. He gets his very first adjustment, and I don't know how it goes. I do my post x-ray. It looks good. He's like, I think this is going to help me. And it was like the light bulb went off in his head. Okay. So then he goes home. I say, I'll see you in about a week. I'll check you in 1 week. I want to see how your Atlas is doing, if it's holding. He comes back in 1 week and he goes, I'm better. I'm better. He goes, I was depressed. All the Jim McMahon things. I was depressed. He says, I'm not a sad person, but I really didn't want to live the rest of my life like this. He goes, I couldn't focus. I couldn't do my work. I couldn't do anything. All I could do, he goes, I didn't even want to plan for the next day. My mind was so cloudy. I wasn't excited about anything. He goes, I'm back. He's like, it's me. I'm back. My neck doesn't hurt. It's like the Jim McMahon. The toilet bowl flushed. He got fresh blood up to his brain. His CSF is moving. This guy's life is changed. Absolutely changed. Did I adjust him again? No. He's holding. If the bone is holding, don't touch it. Okay? Don't touch it. You will help more people by not touching a bone than by touching it if it's in the right place. His whole life has changed. I just saw his dad, who came in yesterday or 2 days ago, and he goes, you absolutely changed my son's life. He goes, I didn't know what was going to happen to him. And this is a part, this guy didn't actually, the patient didn't tell me this. His dad told me this 2 days ago. His dad told me that the doctor said at some point, and this is how sick this is. They know this. The medics know this. They told him in Europe, at some point, the blood flow is just going to shut off and you'll be paralyzed. That was his prognosis. Basically, go home and just slowly deteriorate.
So once again, referral-based practice.
It sells itself. Once you know how to become a great adjuster, how to turn the power back on between the brain and the body and flush out all the junk, and once you can educate your patients, then you'll have a referral-based practice. The people who think you're going to go from where I was to where I am today in the blink of an eye, I got news for you. It takes practice. You have to practice and become a good communicator. You need to meet people. You need to get out there, and you need to listen to people like yourself or learn from you, right? I know you do. You'll come to places and for doctors and you do screenings. And I mean, what a gift. People could hire you and you could go there and you can teach them how to communicate. And that is a skill people will translate throughout their whole practice.
I've trained teams. I've trained teams on how to do this, and I've lit up so many communities with these little advocates that are out there like mining their community for like people, and they're out there serving and they're out there saving lives. Like the thing is that, I can't like talk, I just want to keep it very focused, but when chiropractors tell you that they're saving people's lives, that's true. And when you create a group of people that are advocates and passionate about going out there and supporting this profession, you 100% unequivocally save people's lives from drugs and surgery. You unequivocally save kids from a lifetime of sickness and disease. You give, it's so cliche, but give life to years and years to life. And I think it's so cliche, but it's real. And you give quality of life back by going out there and serving. And when you learn how to go out there and get people, and you do that for so long, those people are so indebted and grateful. Like I just had one of my offices out here. I sent him 7 people, 3 converted to care. And I went and saw him today. He was so freaking excited that he gets to work with these 3 people. He's been a chiropractor for almost 3 decades. And he's
Wow.
like still so on fire to take care of people. And he's like, dude, each one of those people, they're going to learn. I'm going to teach them about subluxation. He's like, and they're going to tell their friends, they're going to tell their people at church, they're going to tell the people, like, it's all going to go, and people are just going to keep on telling people because we love on them here. We tell them the about chiropractic, and we help people. But I think like what you said, if you go out there and you do it with passion and clarity of why you're doing it, it always works.
Yes.
And then people come in and they get these miracle stories because you did the right thing day in day out, and they're like, maybe you can help my son. And like the light bulb goes on, and now that guy, he's like, dude, I don't live in my mom's basement anymore.
Yeah.
I can go back and like have, a life, and I can go paddleboarding and bowling and hiking and hang out with my friends. Like, I think that it's so valuable when you get with that powerful, miracle story. And I do think it's cool that you guys made a whole publication of 500 plus miracles for Atlas
Yes, we
Orthogonal.
gotta share these stories with people, you know. And AO has great research, and they're always doing research, and they're putting it out there. And I know CBP does that too. But you have to make it so that people understand that it is real and why it works. We live in an age where people want some sort of proof. And I don't think that's irrational.
Well, I'm not clear on this, but do they teach AO at chiropractic colleges?
There was one elective at Life, and I think we just got one elective back at Palmer College.
So if people want to learn AO, how do they do that? And is it
So
postgraduate work?
yes, so that is a great question. We need tons of AO doctors. I know probably half the people at my seminar are looking for associates or partners, or they want to be bought out because they want to retire. And we have so many people, we don't know what to do. Patients, we don't know what to do with them all. So if you are interested in doing Atlas Orthogonal work, I don't care if you've been a doctor for 30 years. If you're interested, we want you. We want you in the Atlas Orthogonal group. We want to teach you. We want to help you. We want you to help more people. And you can find us at www.globalao.com. And you can also call the Sweat Institute. That's in Atlanta, Georgia. Talk to Tekla. She is the daughter-in-law of Dr. Roy Sweat. She worked with him for probably 30 years plus. Amazing woman. She is single-handedly with her husband, Dr. Matthew Sweat, Dr. Roy's son, but she's a female powerhouse, and she will connect you with all the right people. But globalao.com, we have seminars. Yes, so there is quite a bit of education afterwards, after school, but it's worth every minute. And you can start in a practice and do the seminars as you go.
So it's globalao.com. And if you want to reach out to Dr. Morgan, you can go to gentlespine.com.
Yes, call me, email me, text the office. I will personally talk to you, and I'll get back with you within 1 to 2 business days.
Yeah, I think it's really cool what you're up to. And I want to learn more about AO as well. And maybe you have some, I'll go to AO, Global AO, and check it out and just like run across the website and see what I find for myself. But I think it's a really great opportunity because I know that there's a deficiency right now with graduates knowing how to adjust well.
Yes.
And there's a lot of docs that are saying, hey, I need an associate, but they don't know how to adjust. So I think if that's the case, that if that's where we're at and like the hierarchy of learning and leadership, then this sounds like a great opportunity for people to come in and actually learn the art of AO and how to deliver the goods.
AO doctors were teachers. We want to teach you. We are always learning ourselves. We have advanced seminars every 2 years. They're run twice a year. You have to go every 2, and they're amazing. We're always learning new things, and we're doing real science. Like, that's a buzzword. We're really doing it. We're looking at stuff that hasn't been published yet. We're seeing these changes. We're doing stuff every 6 months. We're learning real things, and we're proving it. We're proving chiropractic. So if you want to get involved in the cutting edge, if you want to be involved with this, call me. I'd love to have you. I would love to teach people how to do this. I want to have you in my practice. I want you working for me. I want you to go out and have your own practice. I want to make people successful, and I want to spread the word.
That's so cool. And just like with chiropractic biophysics and that model, we need more of these types of models inside of the school. So we actually educate people with the skill sets of knowing how to critically think about how to get people better faster. And
Yes.
I think if that's anything to be said, it's not how many times you adjust somebody, like you said. One of my first projects I ever did, I didn't say this during my talk at the MAC, but I created I think it was like 47 or 48 videos on x-ray and adjusting for Blair upper cervical. And one of the things I took away from that whole project that I did to teach Blair upper cervical docs how to like do their technique was holding is healing. And what you said earlier, like if the bone is set, don't touch it. And I think that there's more to be said about the check. Like you said earlier, you want to check everybody, but if it's holding, we don't need to do anything and come back and we'll recheck you. And I think that so many times we default to always the adjustment. And I think that the adjustment's amazing, like you noticed from when you were younger, but it doesn't always clear the junk. And there's nothing greater than holding an Atlas adjustment and the specificity behind the delivery of that type of care. So I think it's really great what you're doing with AO, and you want to create these ambassadors and pioneers to go out there and become the next 400.
Absolutely. And we're lucky to have people like you, because if chiros are lone wolves. They're always out there, and it's weird we don't have more patient advocates like you. I do think it's odd that you're like the lone guy out there, because when you talk about other groups, it's like you've got the doctors or whomever the professionals are of that group, and then you've got the groupies, and that's really like the groupies, and then above them is like the advocates, right? And they're managing the groupies, and they're kind of like this buffer zone between the professional and the people that want to know more about that. And that's where you need a skilled person to be there between them. Like my husband's an astrophysicist. We were just talking about that. And I mean, I don't even know what he does, but I would love to have somebody who could, and he doesn't really want to explain it to me, right? Because it's like way above my head. It's literally in the clouds, in the stars, above the clouds. But it would be great. Like there's all these people that write books on astrophysics, and there's all these different ways for people to become engaged with what he does without having to talk to him directly. And that's what I see for chiropractic. Like it would be great if there were more patient advocates. So because I only have so many hours in a day, I worked a full day today, I work a full day tomorrow, and I only have so many hours to talk to people now. And of course, I told you, like, we're busy. So it's great to have patient advocates out there who are, that's their passion and their mission is to connect people to doctors.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate your time. I appreciate you going above and beyond and talking about things that you love and things that I love. And it is cool to be somebody that's well known amongst the field of doctors and to be appreciated for making things easier for people to get access to. I think that that's the biggest thing that's held chiropractic back for the long time is it's hard to get access to the truth of the profession. And that's why I've always angled our show to be the voice of the practitioner and not myself. And I think that it's really cool that we've done 644 of these things that anybody can go plug in to a chiropractor talking about why they love their profession. And I think that it's a historical mantelpiece that we've done here with Hustle, just to say, like, look, here's a depository of information of the chiropractic voice. And there's no way that we can ever change what this profession is today based on the love that these chiropractors like expose in these interviews. And I just think that you are right. Like there has to be a news outlet for something good. And there has to be a method of disseminating information about things that matter. And I think chiropractic is one of those things that's very misunderstood. And if people like pop it up and they go YouTube it, or they go Instagram it, or they go whatever, TikTok or social media, all they're going to see is some sensationalized professional doing things that most chiropractors don't do.
Right.
And I think we have to have shows like this, or 10 shows like this, or a TV show like this that just educates people from the voice of the chiropractor and have integrity within doing it. So yeah, I think that there's so much more that we could dive into as far as an episode, but I appreciate the AO combo. I think it's going to be one of the things I really like dive into and learn more about, because I think that the upper cervical area, there's a reason why it's stood the test of time as being a specific technique within chiropractic and a focus. And I think BJ was right. You have to focus on the Atlas.
I mean, this is the guy that started the profession, basically. So he knows what he's talking about.
Well, Dr. Morgan, thank you for being episode 644 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. If you guys want to find more from her, gentlespine.com, call her, text her, join her AO expansion group, and go to globalao.com if you want to learn more about how to become an AO practitioner and have the best practice of your dreams and help people flush the toilet.
Absolutely. Thank you, James. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Have a good night. And I close out by telling everyone, you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.